What's going on, everybody? Mike here with iSMELL. Hope this video is finding everybody well. So it would seem that fall is officially upon us, at least within the fragrance community. What I wanted to do today was bring to y'all 10 fall fragrances. Every single one of them are going to work perfect for that autumn weather. Now, in the spirit of all transparency, usually I do like to do these top 10s in some sort of collaborative format where I do 5 and then the person I'm collaborating with does 5. But in the case of this video, I will be presenting all 10. I do believe I have a stellar lineup. Every single one of these is going to rock perfectly for fall weather. Having said that, it goes without saying that this video is going to run a little bit longer than usual. I'm not going to hold y'all here too long. We have quite a bit to get through in this video. Let's go ahead and get into it. So yeah, 10 fall fragrances in total. No honorable mentions. As much as I wanted to include honorable mentions, it's just gonna make the video run long, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, let's get right into this first fragrance. This first one is actually one that I featured in my last video, because not only is it a stellar signature fragrance, it's one that I said even in that other video, and I still do believe it works perfectly for fall. Fall is that time of year with this fragrance is going to absolutely shine. Fragrance number 1 comes from the house of Zaharoff. The name of this fragrance is Zaharoff Signature Pour Homme. So now, in the case of this first fragrance, I will not be doing a full and in-depth review, but if you want to watch a full and in-depth review, I personally would refer you to George, aka the Fragrance Apprentice's in-depth review. In my opinion, he has the best one on YouTube, at least out of all the ones that I have personally watched. Now, the notable notes on Zaharoff Signature Pour Homme is going to include lavender, cypress, incense, pepper, myrrh, as well as agarwood, aka oud. I'll give you a couple sprays on this and let you know what I smell, even though I already know. Yeah, in terms of what this smells like, it's modern oriental spicy perfumery meets classic fougere. And by fougere, I just mean done in that barbershop style. This opens up with some beautiful, sexy, aromatic lavender being blended with dark, smoky, resinous, ambery myrrh. It's a beautiful combination. You are going to get some herbal facets in the middle. There is quite a bit of cypress and patchouli in this, and I picked that up. And then in the dry down, you are going to get more of those woody notes. Some of the dark facets of this fragrance will come into full force, all the while it does kind of have that barbershop vibe. If you're looking for an excellent fragrance to rock this fall and you can't appreciate those classic barbershop style fragrances, but you want something a bit more modern, Zaharoff Signature Pour Homme is one that I would absolutely recommend. At the number 1 spot today from Zaharoff, we have Signature Pour Homme. All right, so as it relates to this next one, I will admit it's, out of everything that I talk about today, the one that I do have the least amount of experience with, and that's simply because it's one of my newer acquisitions. Having said that, if you are a fan of gourmand fragrances, aka fragrances that smell like edible things, this is 100% one worth checking out, because it is considered by many to be one of the better vanilla fragrances currently on the market, regardless of price point. Fragrance number 2 comes from the house of Nichane. The name of this one is Nichane Ani, or Ani. All right, so what I really love about Nichane Ani is that they blended conventional notes, or notes that you would typically find in a vanillic fragrance. They blended those type of notes together in a way that never comes across as being juvenile, synthetic, or overly jumbled together. It does have a sense of quality in the composition itself. Notable notes on Nichane Ani is going to include ginger, pink pepper, cardamom, vanilla, benzoin, as well as sandalwood. Now, I'll give you a spray of this one as well, and make no doubt about it, yeah, this is 100% a vanillic dominated type of fragrance. But what surprised me about this fragrance when I first smelt it is that there is a ton, it's chocked full of dry spice and warm woods, and that really does push up to the front, which does give this one a unique factor and kind of gives it a bit of maturity. Having said that, if you want a vanilla based scent profile that isn't juvenile, not synthetic, does have a feeling of quality about it, and does kind of have that unique factor, this is definitely one worth checking out this fall. Again, at the number 2 spot today from the house of Nichane, we have Ani. So a few years ago, this third one had a ton of hype surrounding it, but as these things go, the hype generally does begin to die out. But don't let that dissuade you, because that doesn't mean that this is no longer a great fragrance. If anything, it's a positive, because it now means you can pick up an excellent scent profile at an even affordable price. Fragrance number 3 comes from the house of Cartier. The name of this one is Pacha de Cartier Parfum. All right, so what I noticed about a good majority of fragrances coming from Cartier is they do have that sense, that aura, if you will, of sophistication about itself, all the way from the scent profile to even the bottle themselves. And I do think the bottle juice and the presentation does accurately convey what this juice is all about. Notable notes on Pacha de Cartier Parfum is going to include liquor, balsam fir, tonka, sandalwood, benzoin, as well as abrina side. Now, in terms of how it smells, it opens up classy, gentlemanly, upscale. There's this booziness up top, but more so, it's a very rich and bright opening with a very creamy sandalwood dry down. And personally, I love the note of sandalwood, so I was a shoo-in for a fragrance like this. I absolutely love Pacha de Cartier Parfum. The hype is real with this one, and you can pick up a bottle for literally like $60, and that's well beyond its price point. I mean, wear whatever you want, whenever you want, but personally, this is the type of fragrance where it wouldn't hurt you to dress it up a little. Again, Cartier kind of has that aura of sophistication about itself. Definitely a fragrance geared towards fall weather, one that I would recommend you get your nose on if you haven't already. And for those of y'all who already have smelled this fragrance or own it, then you can vouch in the comments below that this fragrance right here is the truth. It's one of my favorite pickups in recent memory. At the number 3 spot today from the house of Cartier, we have Pacha de Cartier Parfum. All right, so the fourth fragrance that I'm going to be talking about today is going to be one of the first out of several that get featured here today that are now recently or have been discontinued. But again, nothing that I ever feature on this channel is going to be so outrageously crazy expensive that you're going to have to sell a kidney to try to acquire. I do believe you can pick up a bottle of this for right around $60 to $80, and that's definitely not breaking the bank. Fragrance number 4 comes from the house of Boss. The name of this one is Boss the Scent Private Accord. All right, so what I enjoy about Boss the Scent Private Accord is that it has some of those sweet, mass-appealing characteristics that people come to know and love, but it's done in a way that really makes it stand apart because they added a few different type of notes that you don't normally see in perfumery. Not to mention, my wife absolutely loves this, so whenever I can find a fragrance that she really enjoys on me, that's always a plus. Notable notes in Boss the Scent Private Accord is going to include cacao, maninka, coffee, ginger, woody notes, as well as benzoin. Now I'll give you a couple sprays of this one as well and let you know what I smell. Yeah, this one smells very great. It's mass appealing, but it smells very, very good, you guys. Immediately up top, it has some freshness. There is a little bit of citrus, but primarily it's sweet. It has that zingy ginger up top, but you do, without a doubt, get a coffeed, chocolatey vibe. And then in the dry down, you're gonna get some woody, ambery type notes. The woods are a little generic, but man, that coffeed note, that coffee chocolate note more specifically, is really good. And then it's blended with this dry, dusty maninka fruit. Overall, it's a great fragrance. Now, I would never sit here and tell you that this is a beast mode fragrance. not by any stretch, but in order to acquire a mass appealing scent profile that people are going to enjoy, that's going to work for fall weather, garner positive attention, and that you can enjoy it, you don't really have to think about it, just throw on a mass appealing fragrance and go. This is definitely one worth checking out, even more so now that it's been discontinued. Definitely one that I've already started wearing, and it was technically before fall when I started wearing it. It's definitely on my list of fragrances that I think you should check out. At the number 4 spot today, from the house of Boss, we have Boss the Scent Private Accord. So we will be staying on this theme of discontinued, mass appealing type of scent profiles with this next one. It just so happens to also come from an extremely popular line, and being that it comes from a popular line, it's mass appealing and discontinued, it makes sense that there would be a cult-like following. What I will say though is this one does smell the least mass appealing out of any flanker I've ever smelt from this line. Fragrance number 5 comes from Paco Rabanne. The name of this one is 1 Million Privé. So in the spirit of all transparency, Privé is going to be, out of everything I talk about today, the most expensive. It is about $150 for a bottle, but I do think dollar for dollar it's worth every penny. Not to mention it literally smells like fall in a bottle, so in my opinion it deserved to be on this list. Notable notes for Privé is going to include blood orange, cinnamon, tobacco, tonka bean, myrrh, as well as patchouli. Now this is a sweet but also slightly spicy fragrance with a warm and beautifully myrrh and resinous dry down. It retains some quite a bit of the original DNA from the original, but what they did was added herbaceous notes with that tobacco, which gives it an extra level of maturity. Then you're gonna have that myrrh and amber that which just glues everything together. It's an amazing fragrance, you guys. And in terms of a fall fragrance, again, this is literally fall in a bottle. Definitely one, even though it is kind of a bit on the expensive side, I do still think it's worth trying to go out there on Mercari, on the resale market, and try to cop a bottle at a pretty decent price. If you're able to find it about $120, go ahead and scoop it up, because again, this is discontinued. It 100% deserved to be on this list today. At the number 5 spot, from the house of Paco Rabanne, we have 1 Million Privé. All right, so one of the cooler aspects about this hobby is that once it starts getting cooler outside, you can start pulling out some of your iris offerings. Now, I'll be the first to admit, iris was not my favorite note when I got into the hobby, but now I have officially come around to it, and I appreciate a good iris fragrance. That's the direction we're gonna be going with this next one. Fragrance number 6 comes from the house of Narciso Rodriguez. The name of this one is Bleu Noir Parfum. All right, so I will not be doing a full and in-depth review of this one, as it's one that I already have a full review of on my channel. If anybody is interested in checking that out, if you want more information, I will leave a marker right there. What is worth reiterating is that Bleu Noir Parfum gets compared quite often to a couple other very popular fragrances, that being Valentino's Umo's Intense, as well as the iconic and extremely beloved fragrance from Dior called Dior Homme Intense. And I'm here to say they are not entirely wrong. Notable notes on Bleu Noir Parfum is going to include iris, tonka, cardamom, musk, suede, as well as sandalwood. Now I'll give you a couple sprays of this one, although I am very familiar, as you can tell by the dent in this bottle. This is one that I wear and that I enjoy. Excellent atomizer. It opens up elegant, full-bodied, rich, kind of sweet, but a little bit mostly fresh up top. You're gonna get that mandarin orange. It doesn't last very long. Eventually it's gonna recede to the back. It's gonna let that iris take center stage. Iris is gonna remain for a good majority of the fragrance, and it's done in a similar fashion as Dior Homme Intense, so it does have that lipsticky vibe. But what I like about Bleu Noir Parfum is that the iris does recede. Again, this is a blue fragrance, so it's like an iris offering and blue fragrance molded together, and then you're gonna get those quote unquote blue facets. It's going to be woody, sweet, and musky, and then you kind of just live in that space for a while. It's an excellent fragrance, y'all, and it's not redundant if you already have Dior Homme Intense. This is definitely one worth checking out. A ton of utility. You can wear it in a whole host of scenarios. At the number 6 spot today, from the house of Narciso Rodriguez, we have Bleu Noir Parfum. All right, so we're gonna be staying on this blue fragrance vibe with this next one, but done in a completely different fashion versus Bleu Noir Parfum, and quite honestly, different than what most people typically and generally think a blue fragrance to be. Fragrance number 7 comes from Yves Saint Laurent. It's one of my favorite scent profiles of all time. This one is La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. All right, so here's the deal with Bleu Electrique. Is it gonna be winning any awards for breaking the mold and reinventing the wheel? Absolutely not. But is Bleu Electrique a slightly more potent and more modernized version of the OG? Absolutely. Notable notes in Bleu Electrique is going to include bergamot, ginger, cardamom, lavender, geranium, as well as cedar. Now, in terms of what this one smells like, again, y'all, we're not breaking the mold here. If you smelt the original La Nuit de l'Homme, that's what you're getting. It's classic OG scent profile mixed in with that modern blue DNA, and by that I mean it's a little bit more sweet and slightly more dense, which is the appeal in all honesty, because the more modern versions of La Nuit de l'Homme are notoriously watered down. I certainly do appreciate it. Now, I can't answer for you whether slightly more performance justifies the difference in price, but what I can do is kind of point you in the right direction. Check out News Parfums. It's a European website. Again, this is discontinued in the States, but you can still get it in Europe. I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can pick up a bottle of Bleu Electrique right now without breaking the bank, and that's the best I can do, you guys. Definitely one that is worthy of being on my fall list. It's one of my favorite scent profiles of all time. At the number 7 spot today, from the house of Yves Saint Laurent, we have Bleu Electrique. All right, so in the case of fragrance 8, I do like to think of this one as somewhat of a hidden gem, because although the hardcores are aware it does exist, the general public, most people in this hobby are not aware. At least to my knowledge, they don't even know this fragrance exists. That's a shame, because this one here that I'm about to show y'all is, at least to my nose, one of the better designer fragrances I've come across in my journey thus far. That's all around the table. Fragrance number 8 comes from Costume National. The name of this one is Costume National Homme EDP. Not to be confused with the Parfum, y'all. All right, so I'll be honest, the first time I smelled this one, it absolutely blew me away. It's not very often a fragrance blows me away at this point. In the case of this one, it's so thoughtfully and meticulously crafted together. It just kind of took me off guard, in all honesty. Notable notes in this one is going to include cloves, grapefruit, cinnamon, cardamom, sandalwood, as well as labdanum. Now, this is a sandalwood fragrance at its core. The one fragrance I would use to compare to this one would be Chanel's Egoiste, not Platinum Egoiste, but the original Egoiste. I'll give you a couple sprays and let you know what I smell on this one. Yeah, in terms of the overall vibe, you kind of get a Chanel Egoiste vibe. This is a very festive fragrance. This is a great fragrance to wear during the holidays, and for that reason, I do believe it's fall in a bottle. This one definitely deserves to make this list. It's not the sexiest bottle, and because it is discontinued, I bought one without a cap because it was a little bit less expensive. Yeah, it's gonna open up chock full of spices up in the front. There is something boozy about it, like a clear boozy, not like a dark liquor. Tons of clove, you guys, so you really do have to enjoy the note of clove. So it's just chock full of spices in the front, and then in the base you're gonna get that creamy sandalwood, and then again labdanum is in the composition, and it works similar to amber, and it just glues the composition together. Again, this is a beautiful fragrance, one I would definitely recommend you check out. It's fall in a bottle, in my opinion. At the number 8 spot today from Costume National, it's Costume National Homme EDP. All right, so where that last one was kind of a situational fragrance that I'm gonna wear on occasion, but not necessarily all the time, this next one, fragrance number 9, is more being picked because it's a great dumb reach fragrance that you can wear for the fall in a wide array of scenarios and just know that you smell good. Fragrance number 9 comes from the house of Prada. The name of this one is Luna Rosa Black. All right, so I'll be the first to admit I wasn't the biggest fan of this when I first smelt it. I didn't understand the appeal. It doesn't like smell outrageously good. It's not a screamer. It doesn't project super long. It wasn't that special. But once you get to wearing it, you kind of see the appeal. This one is a dark, sexy, understated fragrance with a subtle type of character that will draw positive attention without overstating itself. It's something that you can throw on when you're subdued and you don't need to announce yourself to the entire room, yet you still will get positive attention. I can vouch this is an excellent date night fragrance. Notable notes in Prada Luna Rosa Black is going to include tonka bean, amber, angelica, musk, patchouli, as well as bergamot. Now, in terms of what I smell in this fragrance, it's a powdery sweet, but also dark ambery fragrance with powdery musky notes being emphasized heavily throughout the entire composition from front to end. I've heard some people say angelica note is kind of like Play-Doh-y. I'm inclined to agree. I think that angelica note is kind of herbal. It gives it an herbal facet. I guess you could say Play-Doh-y, but it's definitely green. There's definitely something dark green about this fragrance. Powdery is the vibe I get, powdery and musky. Either way, I do think this is an excellent fragrance for the fall weather. I might wear this one tonight, you guys. It smells great. It's a very understated fragrance. It took me a little time to get around to it, but now I absolutely adore it. Definitely check this one out this fall. Again, I've heard rumblings that it's discontinued. I'm not sure on that, so I can't really speak to that. But if you have any worries that it might be discontinued, maybe check it out today, okay? At the number 9 spot, from the house of Prada, we have Prada Luna Rosa Black. All right, so last but not least, and if you are still watching, big salute. This last one here, I saved for last because I know if I had featured it first, I would have lost some of y'all right out of the gate, especially the niche snobs, those of y'all that are more so lean towards classic perfumery, those of y'all that have been in this hobby for a long time and no longer really like the mass appealing fragrances. I would have lost y'all with this one. But at the end of the day, y'all, wear what you want, like what you want. Don't be ashamed. If you think it smells good, then wear it, because I do think this one smells good, and I do wear it, as you'll see here in a second, by the dent in the bottle. Fragrance number 10 comes from the house of Versace. The name of this one is Versace Eros Parfum. All right, you guys, so out of all of them, the EDT, the EDP, and the Parfum, I know a lot of people prefer the EDP. I personally prefer the Parfum. I like what the Parfum does. It's not as loud. It's a little bit more understated. It's a little bit richer. The blend just is more to my liking in general. Notable notes on Eros Parfum is going to include lemon, mint, pepper, elemi resin, benzoin, as well as vanilla. All right, so for those of y'all that aren't aware what Versace Eros Parfum smells like, I would encourage you to go to Macy's and smell it. It's literally at every department store, but for those of y'all that haven't, for the sake of this video, I'll try to explain what it smells like. It's a fresh and citrusy, minty fragrance up at top, very aromatic. They blended it with those citrus notes with pepper, and then throughout the mid, you're gonna get fresh and clean herbal aromatic notes, and then in the base, in the case of Parfum, it's vanilla and elemi resin and benzoin that kind of glues the composition together. It gives it some weight, kind of glues everything to your skin, and that's what I like about this one, is that it sits close to your skin, but it lasts a really long time. It's like the grown brother who doesn't go out and party anymore. He kind of enjoys wearing Versace Eros, but he doesn't necessarily go to the club anymore. He's a little bit more grown and sexy. Definitely a fragrance, in my opinion, that leans more towards my taste. One that you should check out if you haven't already. My personal favorite out the line at the number 10 spot. A great one for fall, in my opinion. Last but not least, again, at the number 10 spot, we have Versace Eros. All right, you guys, that's pretty much a wrap for me. Those are 10 fall fragrances that I'm going to be rocking this year. Let me know in the comments below what you're going to have in rotation this fall. I would love to hear from you. Listen, I really do love and appreciate all the support. Even more so if you're watching this right now, that means you watched until the end. I really and honest and genuinely do. Listen, we have a ton of exciting content coming down the pipe, and I do intend to live stream more. You know what? We're going to make this a giveaway. Go ahead and leave me a comment below. Let me know what fragrance you want to check out in this video. I'll send you a decan of that. Just live in the United States. Again, just my way of showing that I really, honestly do appreciate y'all. We have a ton of exciting content coming down the pipe, so please do make sure to stay tuned. Until next time, you guys. Y'all take care. Stay safe. All right. See y'all around.